Earlier this year, I had an incredible, unexpected light bulb kind of moment. I was at a public meeting and someone referred to the Amesbury Public Library as a third space. This was a phrase I had never heard before, but I instinctively understood what it meant, and it turns out that I had been searching for a concise way to conceptualize that very idea as a core part of my work. As explained by the sociologist Ray Oldenburg in 1989, when we think about how we spend our time, home is our first place, and the workplace is our second place. A third place is anywhere else people go to foster human connection. According to Oldenburg and Karen Christensen, the co-author of the book, The Great Good Place, third places are characterized by being open and inviting, comfortable and informal, convenient and unpretentious. They are also places where there are regulars, conversation is the main activity, and laughter is frequent. It sounds pretty great, doesn't it? And it also describes so many local institutions that I love and do my best to support. Libraries, farmers markets, diners. And while synagogues certainly fit this category as far as I'm concerned, the authors don't mention houses of worship in the subtitle of their book. Cafes, coffee shops, bookstores, bars, hair salons, and other hangouts at the heart of a community. The book does address the role religion can play in community life, but I definitely bristled a bit at the omission, and in the spirit of tshuva and honesty, I am still feeling slighted. I am a rabbi who will proudly say that the most important part of my job is building and maintaining community and interpersonal connections. Yet, as I continued to think about the ways in which CAA may or may not be a third place, I realized that some tensions do exist. I think we embody most of the characteristics of a third place exceptionally well. Open and inviting, comfortable and informal, convenient, unpretentious, we have regulars, and laughter is frequent. Check, check, check. And if for whatever reason you find that not to be the case, please come find me after the holidays and we can talk about how we can do better. I would, however, hesitate to say that conversation is the main activity. While there are a fantastic array of social and cultural activities going on in and around the synagogue, the bedrock of our institutional life still revolves around prayer. And that's not something I want to see change anytime soon. The question is, can prayer be a conversation? And if so, who are the two parties engaging in that conversation? Jewish prayer is not a monolith. It contains multitudes and takes many, many forms, some of which are seemingly paradoxical. Private prayer at home is just as important as communal prayer with a minyan. Effective Jewish prayer requires that we attempt to strike a balance between keva, what we think of as set liturgical prayer, what we find in our books, and kavanah, intention, spirit, and spontaneity. And still, despite our best efforts, we often find that what's in our books does not reflect and express what is in our hearts. Before this veers into a sermon about what Judaism gets wrong, I want to give the rabbis who devised the system of Jewish prayer over millennia and the Jews who kept the practice alive some of the tremendous credit they deserve. Having a regular set prayer service fosters fluency and familiarity. Holding formal services 3 times a day interspersed with moments of personal prayer and blessings throughout the rest of the day ensures that we are constantly in touch with our spiritual practice. And the set liturgy builds a shared practice and shared vocabulary of Jewish prayer that has spanned centuries and continents and kept the languages of our ancestors alive. However, that formal liturgy also allowed the muscles needed for personal and extemporaneous prayer to atrophy. The ancient languages of our ancestors are no longer fluid in our mouths or our minds. And with the advent of the printing press, we were too willing to seal our prayer books as completed works. I learned recently that Lecha Dodi, the central prayer of Friday night services, and an example of liturgical poetry par excellence, was written by Solomon Halevi Alkabetz around 1540 and is considered to be the latest universal addition to the canon of Jewish prayer. That's almost 500 years ago. And while Debbie Friedman's Mishaberach is fighting for its rightful place in every Siddur that is printed, imagine what we have missed and overlooked in the intervening generations by treating our prayer book as a completed work. It wasn't always this way. As Rabbi Lawrence Hoffman points out, the Bible is all personal prayer. No one repeats someone else's prayer. Hannah prays, David prays, Moses prays, Solomon prays for wisdom. Other kings don't say, let's pray Solomon's prayer. Let's say a communal prayer for wisdom. The story of Hannah that we read in yesterday's Haftarah gives us a great paradigm to aspire to. The text reads, and she was bitter of feeling, so she prayed to Adonai, while she wept, yes, wept. She later tells Eli, the high priest, who mistakes her passion for inebriation, that I have been pouring out my soul in the presence of Adonai. Do not take your maidservant for a worthless woman. I have only been speaking all this time out of my great anguish and distress. When was the last time any of us had a prayer experience like Hannah's? How can we make the most of our prayers? How can we find personal meaning while maintaining the vital role that Jewish prayer plays not only in our community, but in keeping us connected to global Jewry? One strategy is to reframe the words in the Siddur as the opening to a conversation. We are empowered to develop the kavanah, the personal intention, behind the age-old words of Hebrew prayers. And once we establish the touch points for that, assisted by building fluency and familiarity and repetition, we might see how boundless the words can actually be. When we say the central line of the Ashrei, Psalm 145, Poteach et yadecha umaspia lecho chai ratzon, you open up your hand and satisfy the need of every living thing. It is an invitation to offer gratitude for all that we have, to pray with compassion for anyone whose needs are not met, to reflect on the awe of living in an interconnected world. When we rise, open the ark and sing together, Vayehi b'nsoah ha'aron vayomer Moshe, a simple introductory verse from the Torah. When the ark would set out, Moses would say, we span eons, connecting ourselves to every Jew who has stood in awe going back to the days of Moses. And of course, whenever we have an opportunity to be in silence together, we can each make prayer completely our own, offering the gratitude, bequests, blessings, and even questions and fear that we hold in our hearts, while being supported in a room of like-minded and like-hearted individuals. Beyond that, we should also be open to thinking outside the box, or outside the book in this case. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, a great Hasidic master and spiritualist at the turn of the 19th century, describes a practice called hitbodedut, Hebrew for seclusion. I'm going to read his teaching in its entirety because the words are worth hearing. He teaches that one should set aside an hour or more to seclude oneself in a room or in a field and to express oneself in dialogue with the Creator, with claims, words of favor, and to request and supplicate before God. And this prayer should be in one's native language, because in Hebrew it is hard to express oneself. And one should speak what is in one's heart, whether it be regret and tshuva on the past or supplications to merit to come close to God in truth from that day on, and similar things, each according to their level. And one should accustom oneself to do this every day at a designated time, and the rest of the day, one should be happy. And even if sometimes one doesn't have anything to say, you should speak to God about not having anything to say. What I think Rabbi Nachman is describing is prayer as its own type of third place. Anything that we cannot keep to ourselves but are not yet ready to reveal to anyone else can be released as prayer. Anytime we need to talk, or even when we think we don't have anything to say, we can pray. We have built a community that is open and inviting, comfortable and informal, convenient and unpretentious, with regulars, frequent laughter, and where conversation, both talking to others and prayer, is the main activity. Those conversations are limited only by our own openness to engage in them. And although we may not receive a response as clearly as Hannah did when Samuel was born, we are heard, and our prayers can change us and our circumstances. Shana Tova.